Hello.
Oh, hello. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. How are you?
Did I start that way? I almost just responded out of instinct as well. It's like, wait a minute.
I was going to see how long we could go.
There now exists one recording to rule them all, and I didn't know about it.
I see what you did there.
And we'll get back to that.
So, first, you want to talk about this other thing that's not about this thing?
I do. I want to make people wait and figure out what I'm talking about with that opening.
Well, I remember hearing about it, and I was like, well, yeah, this is how this works now. Pregnant woman, this is from CNN, a pregnant woman got a ticket for driving in the HOV lane in Texas. She says her fetus was her passenger. Just to clarify, the HOV stands for high occupancy vehicle. So it has to have two or more occupants in the vehicle to be in the lane to speed traffic up, encourage carpooling and that sort of thing. And she got a ticket and stated that her fetus was her passenger.
And just to clarify, in the grand scheme of things, this is after the Supreme Court has overturned the Roe v. Wade guarantees to abortion, from the federal level at least, and after Texas has proclaimed a pretty much ubiquitous ban on abortions, or it is ubiquitous after 6 weeks, isn't that correct? Or is it a little bit longer than that?
I'm sorry, say that, the last bit.
The Texas recognizes abortion illegal after 6 weeks now, correct?
I believe that's the case.
I think so. So effectively, Texas is saying that after 6 weeks, your child is a child.
Right. And she was, the motorist was, her name, Brandy Batone, and she was 34 weeks pregnant.
Which also, just to clarify, is a lot closer to full term.
Yeah, I think 37 weeks is full term.
I was having this conversation the other day because I couldn't remember. I've been told that my recollection of it was incorrect, that it should be 39 weeks. I don't know how accurate that is.
I almost said 39 weeks. So there, but see, there's a couple of, a couple of milestones at the end. One of them is considered full term, and one of them is before this. There's a time frame. If you go into labor before this time frame, they try to interrupt the labor. They try to stop it if they can medically. And there's a time frame where it's like if you go into labor, even if you're not full term, they'll continue with the labor and delivery. And then there's full term.
Yeah, and I think the 39 week point is what is considered full term. So it may be that after 34 weeks, you could have a successful go into labor and deliver.
So just a quick internet search from health.ny.gov. I guess this is the New York Health Department. 280 days or 40 weeks is full term. 40 weeks. A preterm or premature baby is delivered before 37 weeks. So between 37 and 40, I don't know what that is.
The delivery window, full term.
Well, okay, so another, this is from marchofdimes.org. Early term, your baby is born between 30 weeks, 0 days, and 38 weeks, 6 days. Full term is when your baby is born between 39 weeks, 0 days, and 40 weeks, and 6 days. And late term is after 41 weeks. And then there's a post term, your baby's born after 42 weeks. So there's some
variation in definitions as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that, you can't always get the, so there's conception, then there's implantation. It's not a, there's some fluidity there. But you can say before 37 weeks is preterm, and 40-ish, 30, somewhere after 37 weeks and 42 weeks is full term. I'm not sure which. It depends on, different schools of thought there.
And so back to the article, that means that the motorist was at least at the point where she could have delivered the child.
No, she would have been preterm.
Well, I mean, it's still viable at that point.
Maybe. There's a lot that happens in those last few weeks, so I think it would be less than ideal. So, but I would point out that, it's 28 weeks after the 6 weeks that the state law says you can't get an abortion. So if we're calling them people, if we're going to treat them like this, then she had every right to be in that HOV lane.
I do have to nitpick about the HOV standing for high occupancy, though. Who determined that 2 people was high occupancy for a vehicle?
I'm guessing that would be the city of Dallas.
Well, it's I know outside of Atlanta, in that area, outside of Nashville, like all of the ones that I've seen have all referenced 2 or more people.
Yeah.
But how is that high occupancy?
I mean, it's more than one. It's like 100% more than one.
I mean, I guess it would be close to full capacity for a smart car.
Depends on the smart car. I feel like there's one that I've seen that's like that would be full capacity.
But it would not be anywhere near full capacity for an expedition.
Nope. No, I don't. I don't know why we're trying to understand the logic here.
Just because I find it to be one of those things that is, why not just call it a carpool lane?
Yeah. Well, I guess because like carpool has like, if, you might have someone who's got, family is driving down. We're not carpooling. We're just going somewhere as a family. We're going to Six Flags Dallas or whatever. We're going to the Gaylord Texan. I have no idea which Six Flag is in Dallas, but there's one. I just like the exchange between the police officer. I'm assuming it was a police officer. It just says, it says pulled over by the police and the officer. So I'm assuming it's a police officer. I just like that he, she said that there was another person in the car, and he was like, "Where?" And she was like, pointed to her stomach and said, "It's not her stomach, it's her abdomen." She pointed to her abdomen and says, "Right here." And he said, "Well, it's 2 bodies outside of the body," which and told her it didn't count. And I was just like, 2 bodies outside of the body? So is her one body inside of the body and then there's another body inside of her body? Like, I don't understand that phrase. I mean, I know what he's trying to communicate, but I don't think it makes sense.
Well, it doesn't. It would be too... I would say the only way to phrase it, anything like what he phrased, would have been 2 independent bodies not joined.
I mean, so you can't hold hands in the high occupancy vehicle lane?
Well, that's not joined. That's temporarily tethered. The only thing that would be joined, would doesn't that conjoined twins?
I feel like that would satisfy. Well, but see, conjoined twins, he wouldn't be pulling them over for that because there'd be like 3 of them. And I feel like holding hands with somebody it is a form of being joined. It's something that's easily connected and disconnected. It's a very and there's not a lot of like interfacing between them. Whereas like with a fetus, you have a semi-permanent connection with a lot of interfacing between the two. That doesn't mean I don't feel like that is any more joined and versus holding hands.
It would absolutely be more joined. The umbilical cord has to be severed.
But that's the hand holding has to be severed as well. It's
yes,
just
but
severed.
Then can it be reattached? Can the umbilical cord be reattached?
I don't think we've ever tried that, but I bet it has been tried before in certain cases, but I would expect it could be reattached. We just don't do that often.
So maybe two physically independent bodies that could be touched.
Are we talking about I just want to throw shit everywhere right now.
Well, and I mean, like from my standpoint, the argument that the motorist made was perfectly logical. Like if you're gonna count a unborn child as a child at 6 weeks, then you have to count him as a child at 6 weeks.
Right, and so it is. I don't know. It's not clear. Like this, you've made this law has been made, and there are ramifications to the law. And guess what? It's not clear. I don't think she deserves a ticket. It's not I am projecting a lot of I'm projecting my dissenting attitude towards the police officer because he represents the law, and the law is what's bullshit.
And in fairness, like one thing to remember is that this is how these types of things get clarified. Like the officer should have just not made a statement, should have just said, this is currently how the law is applied. By all means, argue your case to the judge, because that would be the next logical step. And technically, I'm not sure, like I know we're saying that they recognize it as a child at 6 weeks, but technically all they've done is ban abortion after 6 weeks. They haven't changed anything about what it is recognized as, just that a woman no longer can seek a procedure to terminate the pregnancy after 6 weeks.
They've defined a few other things, like there's a $10,000 bounty reward on anyone that you can turn in for having an abortion after 6 weeks.
Right, but that's not categorically changing the definition of like embryo, fetus, child, like any milestones that are recognized. It's just saying you can no longer terminate it after this amount of time.
Yeah.
And so part of it is also that there needs to be challenges to force clarification of, well, if 6 weeks is the thing, then you have to recognize it as a living being at that point, and then this woman's argument is perfectly valid. But absent having some of those clarifications, technically her argument's it's correct, but it's a little premature.
Yeah. The story concludes with Patone getting a ticket, and the officer told her you could probably go fight it, and they'll probably drop it. So, what a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to sound apologetic for the system because it is broken in many ways, but this would be an illustration of how you would expect the system to work, even though it's inconveniencing a person that really shouldn't be.
Right. If we had if there were clarifications, and we're like, okay, we now have banned this abortion at this time, and now you are allowed to take out life insurance, take out, get tax breaks for you now having to provide, basically claim this person, this fetus as a dependent, etc. Let's say you tried to cover as many bases as possible, and then there was just the one case where it's like, oh, we didn't think about that, or we didn't catch it, we didn't capture this, because I'm sure somebody thought about it, but we didn't capture this, and it's in the law, and we just we'll just need to update this part as well, or have some sort of clarification or a court case for precedent. Then it would be, better. But no, this is more of the same.
Theoretically, this could be a positive as well, because it forces a challenge to the whole 6-week thing. Because it forces there to be some consideration of what those ramifications are outside of just the realm of pregnancy. And so if done correctly, or if done, I guess, not necessarily correctly, but if done intelligently, the legal case could target how that 6-week ban is also not based on anything that should allow it to continue to stand if it's not applied to the same other spheres. You know what I mean?
I do.
And we'll see if it plays out that way or not, or if it ends up being a very narrow argument and we don't hear anything else from it for a bit.
How I expect it to play out is that all the other laws are the same the way they were, and this doesn't change anything. You deserve that ticket, and you can't have an abortion. That's how I expect it to play out.
Yeah, I think I would too.
It's just like, why would we change anything else? We just don't want you to do this thing. Done and done.
I know we don't have it in the notes, but one thing that I also saw, last week, I think it was. I don't remember if it was Michigan or where, but the story about a 10-year-old that had to travel to another state to get an abortion.
I did hear about that. I think it would be a fitting thing to talk about at this moment.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot to say about it. I just find it absolutely absurd that we live in a time that kind of bullshit can exist. I mean, seriously, a 10-year-old girl, and you're going to say you have to carry a baby full term and deliver it?
I mean, it was only 10 years prior that she was in that state.
I mean, it's so ridiculously absurd to me that I can't even fathom the logic behind not saying, you know what, we got something wrong. Let's fix it.
I don't, it doesn't matter. The answer to the question I'm about to ask does not matter at all. But how did she get pregnant? Because
if I remember, so I didn't look that close because it was just, one of those absurd headlines that I saw that it's like, this is absolute horseshit. She should absolutely be able to seek an abortion. But if I recall correctly, it was family assault. Domestic, internal family domestic assault.
Yeah. Were her shorts too short?
I didn't see any pictures, but that's not a valid argument anyway.
Oh. I mean, she must have been asking for it then at 10 years old.
Oh, of course. They didn't have the one-way doors at the school. That was the problem.
Oh, those one-way doors, man, they will get you. Wait, that's not how door technology works.
No, it's not.
I don't.
I did pull it up because I didn't want to reference the story and not at least have some of the facts appropriately. So it was an Ohio girl, and she was a rape victim. It does not say immediately what the
it was along the lines
who perpetrated the crime, but
yeah,
the girl was raped.
So, we got rape and incest. How many? It's like, do we have to accumulate points for it to be allowable? It's like, you can't get an abortion unless you get 3 points. You got to be prepubescent. You got to be a rape victim and an incest victim. That's 3 points. You needed a fourth point to get that abortion. I'm not sure what that fourth point would be, but goddamn.
Yeah, it's absurd. And absurd doesn't even do it justice. It's so ridiculously incomprehensible that I just don't have a better word for it.
Our legal system? Legal system. Is it legal system? Our governing bodies in certain parts of this country are making a mockery. Well, it's already a mockery in many ways, but this is our lives are becoming theater of the absurd.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty accurate way to put it. And most of the absurdity is happening, well, would I say that? Hold on. I'm about to walk back my statement a little bit. No, I think I would still state it that way. Most of the absurdity is happening at the state level. Not all, but most. And if it's not directly at the state level, it's perpetuated by state elected officials, more so than any other group, with the potential exception of how the Supreme Court continues on its path.
Oh, dear me.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, let's add another one to the mix. Apparently, our lawmakers might actually agree enough to pass federal protections for same-sex marriage.
I did see that.
That came out of the blue to me. To me, that was a complete surprise.
I saw that it passed the House. It was to codify. Do you say codify or codify?
I say codify.
I say codify as well, and if there were two Ds, I'd say codify.
Hearing codify, I just immediately think of fish.
It what?
I just immediately think of fish, the cod.
Okay. Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, last week there was a vote in the House to codify same-sex and quote-unquote interracial marriage. And all of the Democratic representatives voted yes for this, and something like, was it 27 voted Republican Congress people voted yes for this.
Yeah, I didn't look at the final numbers. I just remembered that signs point to it will also pass the Senate.
Okay, so then what is left?
Then it just gets signed.
Who's by the
president?
Okay, so they send it to the president?
Yes. So laws are presented, like made in the House. They're supposed to be quote unquote tempered in the Senate. So the House has its initial bill that it passes and sends to the Senate for their approval. More often than not, things change in the Senate, and the final draft is voted on and then either passes or fails. And if it passes, it's sent to the president for signing into law or veto if he disagrees. If vetoed, goes back to Congress, and I don't remember the full path there, if it's just the Senate to overrule a veto or if it's the House or what the combination is. And there's also a mechanism for going back from the Senate to the House, if I remember correctly, but I don't know that that's ever been something reported on well enough for me to know for sure that exists, or if I've just heard of that being a thing.
Yeah, I don't remember. This is where I'm going to need Schoolhouse Rock to watch that Schoolhouse Rock video about how bills are made.
That is a classic.
It is. So that is a good, it's a reaction, but it's at least a relevant and good reaction to Roe v. Wade being overturned. And
well, I think it's more that it's a clear message to the Supreme Court that Congress has not completely abolished its ability to do its job, and that the court may find it more difficult to continue down the path that Clarence Thomas alluded they may continue down.
Yes, that is also a thing. That's probably the impetus there. So,
I'm sure. I have no doubt that it's not actually a, we need to illustrate that we can still do our jobs. I have no doubt it's more, wait a minute, the Supreme Court is trying to do things of its own accord, and that's not where the power is supposed to reside, and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. Or, hey, nobody wants this. This is bad news. You don't need 9 people or 6 people. Or actually, it would take even just 5 people making a decision for the entire country.
And it does also potentially show a willingness for Congress, depending on how things continue, obviously, but could show a willingness for them to revisit this from a legislative perspective as well. I don't necessarily hold my breath on that one because of the absurdity of the number of people who make up large groups of legislators currently, but at the same time, I didn't see any type of codification for same-sex or interracial marriage coming anytime soon either, so maybe. I don't think I have another meanwhile kind of transition to jump into with those. Do you?
I was just pulled up just a little bit of information. It was so the bill passed the House, and it was all Democrats and support from 47 House Republicans, which was more than I was thinking. I think I knew it was a number that ended in 7, so I was thinking it was 27 or 37, but 47 seemed like that seemed like a high number to me, but it was 47. And I think there were maybe less than 10 that didn't vote. So it was pretty strong, moved through the House pretty strong support. For it to make it to President Biden's desk, it will need, because there are 50, the Senate is split 50-50. It will need 10 Senate Republicans to get through the Senate. I haven't seen that it has done that yet. I don't know when it is to be voted on. But
yeah, I think what I saw was that it should be voted on this week, but I knew that it had not been voted on yet.
This article that I'm reading from was published on the 21st, and it references Tuesday. I'm assuming that's today that it would be voted on in the House, or in the Senate rather. So, and I haven't seen anything about where a Senate vote. So maybe they haven't finished. But this article, and it's from the Denver channel, ABC News in Denver, Colorado, Channel 7, stating that one of the things, Senate Minority Leader McConnell is not willing to publicly state his position. Yeah, it's not. I'm not seeing any reports of the vote being completed today.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any headlines pop up about it having passed yet either. So I would expect any news would probably be tomorrow at the earliest, unless they're currently deliberating. But I don't know that I would think so. Maybe. Have you? I guess I do have one other along the same lines kind of transition. Have you watched any of the hearings, the January 6th hearings?
No, I've only watched the reporting on the hearings.
So the only reason I ask is I watched a little bit of the final one in this series that aired in primetime the other day. I think it was the other day. Recently. I'll just say recently. At the time, as of the recording. And the main reason was just to kind of see firsthand. I'd heard enough people talk about the production quality was much better and everything else than previous congressional hearings, and it seemed to be, far better laid out, far better momentum, everything else. Just the presentation was unanimously recognized as better and setting the bar for future hearings. And I watched the smaller segment in that where Senator Hawley they showed a picture of him, egging on the crowd before he entered the Capitol, and the fist pump, that infamous photograph now at this point, and then footage of him fleeing the mob, or fleeing the chamber, running through the halls in the Capitol as they were evacuated. And I wondered for a moment, why the emphasis on Howley when there are certainly others that you could also emphasize. But I think he's the only one that actually seemed to make a nod toward the crowd outside as they had gathered. I don't know that I've heard reports of anybody else signaling to the crowd directly in any way after they had gathered at the Capitol. And I think that's part of it. And then I think part of it is also with how outspoken he's been. It's also just putting him on notice that we recognize you and we want to make sure other people see how courageous you are running away from everything.
I saw on the news, I don't remember who it was, but a Florida congressman,
Matt Gaetz, isn't that it?
No, that's the guy. That's the one that looks like one of the Beavis or Butthead, right?
I don't.
He's
maybe
he's relatively young compared to the rest of Congress.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and he kind of has a weird look, and his approval rating was like in the teens, like the age of women that he liked. Is that who we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, no, it wasn't Gates.
Okay,
it might have been Eastman. I'm not sure. He was so I was in Florida, and he was on the news. Last week I was in Florida. He was on the news, and he was commenting about how the January 6th committee hearings were relatively unfair to Trump, and that they were unfair, and that they were, he was kind of coming from an angle like this was, like somehow this was outside of the statute of limitations. And that, it was unfair to judge him on past events. And I'm like, you're the dumbest sounding person on TV right now, because that's the entirety of how our penal system works. You get judged on your past event, on things you did in the past.
Yeah, I mean, the smallest window I'm aware of for any kind of statute of limitations for a criminal charge, I think, is 3 years when you're talking about maybe certain. Well, I think this may be decided by district, but the lowest that I've ever heard of any type of limitation was 3 years, and most of the time it's much longer than that.
Right. So it was just. But even to say, like, it's unfair to... Basically, he was saying it's unfair to take your past events and be judged and punished for them. I'm like, that's exactly how our penal system works.
That's how everything works. You can't judge actions based on inaction or things that haven't occurred yet.
No, he might be confused about, like, some... science fiction book or movie that he read or watched, where
like Minority Report.
I haven't seen that, but I understand that is like you get penalized for things that you're about to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that was actually a decent movie. I do recommend watching it at some point. I have it.
I will check it out. I assume, since you're saying that your network got fixed.
Yes. So
let's come back to that in the after show.
Okay.
Such as it will be.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have an interesting conversation then.
And then you can tell me about the one recording, unless there was something else that we had to say about.
No, I think that pretty much sums up the general feeling of disdain for a large part of how things are currently going.
It's just if we were saying, what the fuck? We'd be saying fuck way too much if we were to say that about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I think it's something that more people in positions of power should be saying at this point.
Right. So tell me about something good.
Yeah, so I did not even know this existed, and I happened to see a comment by a friend that said they had almost finished it, and I immediately had to go find it. So Andy Serkis recorded The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings books, audiobooks, So there's now a contemporary retelling of the books in their entirety, unabridged, narrated by Andy Serkis.
Lovely.
I bought all of them.
Oh,
immediately.
Nice. So was it 7 books? Or 4 books or 2 books?
So it technically is 2 books, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. But The Lord of the Rings was, of course, published as 3 volumes. So like the audiobooks follow the publishing format of 4 books total.
So I really don't. It's not like we're in World War II era, no paper that we can't, they're not even on paper.
Well, so I think part of it's obviously financially it makes more sense to separate them, right? But historically, they've been 3 volumes, or The Lord of the Rings has been split into 3 volumes. There's only one edition that I'm aware of that was published as the full compendium, but it even still labels them book 1, book 2, book 3 within that volume. And so I think we've just gotten to a point where everybody accepts it's 3 books.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it was only 3 books because they couldn't print them. It was written as a single book,
right?
And it couldn't be couldn't be printed as a single book because there was not enough paper. This was during World War II Europe. They had to do what they could, so they split it up into 3 volumes. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. You do make more money, whatever. Just charge more, I guess. But have you listened to them?
I started listening to Fellowship of the Ring. I have not made it all the way through yet, partially because we started listening. So this was actually our audio taking my son up to meet his grandparents halfway for a trip.
Yeah.
And so we listened to Fellowship of the Ring on the way up. And I've decided not to start listening to it until we're back in the vehicle. Again, it'll be on the way to go pick him up this next week.
Nice.
And it's mostly it's just because I don't have normally longer than like 30-ish minutes at a time to listen to something, and I don't want to cap myself listening to Andy Serkis at 30 minutes.
Yeah. I listened to the 5.5-minute clip that is in the link that you sent, and it was good. It's really good. I think it was a clip from The Hobbit, if I'm not mistaken. No. It's
so I didn't listen to the clip in the thing. I just because at that point I'd already bought all of them anyway.
Yeah, actually, I think it's a clip from Smeagol and Gollum having a conversation with themselves in the Two Towers section of The Lord of the Rings. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it has definitely been great so far. I feel spoiled by how good his ability to narrate is, which I kind of expected. It's Andy Serkis, but it sets the bar for me for audiobook quality going forward.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the 5.5 minutes I listened to. I will have to check those out.
Yeah, I went ahead and just bought them through Apple Books.
Mm-hmm.
And since they carry audiobooks in the store now too.
That's excellent.
I will probably watch for like a volume of them at some point in the future to have on physical media, maybe. I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't necessarily care so much about having CDs anymore. It would be one of those things where I would have to come across it as a collector's edition box set that was not ridiculously expensive, and then I would get it just for having a physical copy somewhere too. Much like I did with the extended versions of the trilogy.
Yeah, I have gotten to where if I'm gonna buy a disc, I want a digital copy. I feel like it's easier to pull audio CD off of a disc, and that's just always been easier to do that. But like even with video now, I'm just like I buy it with a digital copy, and I have recently bought 2 movies. I got them together, and I haven't decided if I'm gonna even put the disc in and rip them because they came with a digital copy.
What movies?
I got the relatively new Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile.
I've been curious about both of those, but I have not watched either one.
I'll have to rip them for you then. So, Death on the Nile, I think, is on HBO or Hulu. It's on a streaming service, but Murder on the Orient Express is not. And I think you can watch them out of order. I don't think it's it's kind of like Sherlock Holmes maybe, where it's like here's the character and here's an adventure. So
my most recent additions to my library, I recognized I never actually owned a copy of the movies Short Circuit and Short Circuit 2. Did you ever see those?
I remember Short Circuit. And I think I saw Short Circuit too, but I at some point in my head, those were like one of those 80s movies that had like 5, like Police Academy. There were like 5 Police Academies, and I was thinking Short Circuit was like that. And then when I've gone back to look, I'm like, actually, I don't think that is the case.
I think it felt that way because Steve Guttenberg was in Short Circuit, and every time I saw him, I always thought of him as being Mahoney from Police Academy. And then what's the guy that played the captain? Oh God, the protagonist throughout the Police Academy movies. He plays the protagonist in Short Circuit as well.
Oh,
or antagonist, not protagonist. Sorry,
I knew it. I was thinking maybe the reason why I thought there were more than 2 Short Circuits was because the catchphrase from the movie was "Number 5 alive," and I made me think that might have been why I thought there were like 5 movies.
But
it's been a while.
For some reason, I just randomly thought of those films, and it's like I haven't seen those in forever. Oh, and I don't have copies of those. Well, let's fix that.
Feeling like we're getting to after show material, but have you did you ever watch the movie Not Quite Human?
No.
Okay, it was probably
I'm not even sure I recognize the title.
It was a good family movie. I don't know, it's the last one I saw, it would have been in the mid-90s. It was one, I think the whole thing, like it was, I think it's 3 movies. It's Not Quite Human. I think the second one is still Not Quite Human, and I can't remember what the third one is called. But the first one was definitely like, I don't think any of these got into the theater, but so they were never cinema releases. But they were Disney movies, and it might have been for like the Disney Channel, but it was higher quality than than your standard made for TV movie, and
well, that sounds kind of like it wasn't the first couple of the Three Ninjas movies. They transitioned from theatrical releases to, I think there was one that was made as a video release as well.
The first, I know with Three Ninjas, the first 2 were in the theater.
I think the third one was too.
Really? But, you're going for a different demographic.
Yeah. Well, before we venture too far down the rabbit hole and have the after show, one other thing that I would mention on the Andy Serkis narration, the original narration or the classic narration, those audiobooks are still available. It was, I'm going to blank on his name. Was it Rob Engel or something like that? I'm going to have to pull it up and look. But those are still available. Those are still good classics to listen to. I remember the article specifically mentioned that they would maintain both versions available for people.
Okay, that's good. I wouldn't want. I mean, other than like, getting them confused, I feel like there's no reason to remove the classic version.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have because different people could have different preferences as well. Like some may not want the newer reading. Rob Inglis. I knew I wasn't going to get his last name correct.
It was close.
So, I do not have those. The other version of the story that I have on audio there was a small abridged version that was performed that you could get on a disc. I have that copy. This is the first time I have an unabridged audiobook version. And it's going to, I think the total runtime for all three was somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 hours.
How many hours you said?
60.
Oh my goodness me. That's a long time.
Because the Fellowship of the Ring, the total runtime on it is, I know, visible. Where is it? I guess I have to go to the page in the store. Total length is 22 hours and 38 minutes for Fellowship of the Ring.
Wow. I mean, it's not surprising.
No, not at all. And that's part of why I wanted it. I want the full immersive experience.
We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.